So today we're going to talk about how to program a game in Unreal Engine, and it's a little bit different from if you do regular programming in like a computer science class and things like that. The big difference is that game programming is mainly event driven. So what does that mean? I'm going to make that in big, bold right there. So what that means is that an event happens like running into something or clicking the mouse or taking damage or there's a lot of different events. Then you write code that takes place when that thing happens. Okay, this is a little bit different from regular programming where you typically write your code in like a main loop and things like that. There is a main loop inside of the game engine that like does things like update the physics and things like that. But in general, when you're doing game programming, you're mostly reacting to things. Like you don't know when the user is going to click the mouse, right? You don't. So what you do instead is you write code that says, when the user clicks the mouse, create a rocket launcher. When the user hits space, jump. When the user hits W, walk forward. When the user uses the thumbstick on his controller, right? Tilt the camera up and down, that kind of stuff. And there's only about, will these notes be available to look at later? Yes, of course. Yeah, you don't have to write these down. I will screenshot them and post them on Discord, and they're recorded on YouTube, and yeah, fully available to everybody. So what kinds of events are there? That's the half of it, and then the other half is like things you can do when an event occurs, and that's lots. Okay, but the actual events themselves, there's only a few main categories, right? You could have like a key press, mouse, movement or click or something. An object can run into another object. Touch or hit. It's sometimes called. An object in the world can overlap another object. Like an invisible scoring zone or something. Or like if you've ever played a video game where like you walk up towards a door and the door opens in front of you, there's usually some sort of like invisible zone called a trigger box that you walk in, and then it plays a cutscene, right? And a lot of times, if you know what if you've played video games, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like you walk in, like there's a giant cavern, and you know that when you walk into that giant cavern, it's going to there's going to be a scene, like somebody's going to like say something, dragon's going to come out of the sky, a volcano monster is going to burst up from the ground, like you just know, like you're walking in, there's a doorway. There's a big cavern space on the inside. You just know, like if you're playing Elden Ring or something like that, there's going to be a cutscene. And so what they typically do is they put one of these invisible zones over the doorway, and then when you walk into it, it fires off the cutscene, and your character walks in and plays the thing and starts the combat. So, what else? A timer going off. Like you'd say every 3 seconds do something. Something like that. Or you just say on every frame of the game. It's called event. And so video games are broken up into frames. If you've ever played video games before, you might have heard the term frames per second. That's how often the game refreshes the screen. And so in video games, you typically want to shoot for about 60 frames a second, 30 at the low side. 60 is kind of a nice target to hit. Ideally, you want to be able to break the 60 barrier and get up into the 90s and 100s and things like that. But yeah, and so you can have something trigger every frame of the game. And that has some complications, because if you do damage every frame, then the higher your frame rate, the more damage you do, which is a problem. Right, we'll talk about how to handle that. But that's kind of about it that I can think of. Key press, mouse, maybe like joystick or game controller or something, or, trackpad, or touch screen. Like, there's a lot of different input devices, but basically, you guys kind of feel me on this. Like, these are sort of the big sources of like events, and what you're going to be doing in this class is you're saying when something happens, do something, okay? And these are sort of the things that can start that chain of events. Do you guys understand? Just conceptually. I haven't shown you anything in Unreal Engine yet. Time for class to start. Maybe we should have set the alarm earlier. Do you guys understand? Like, these are like the things that start you going, start your code off. All right. Do you think of anything else off the top of your head? Like, Mario when he jumps. Yeah, so like a Mario controller, like when you press the button, that's an event, and it starts Mario jumping. And then like when Mario hits something, that would be an event also, right? And then when the mushroom comes out and Mario touches the mushroom, that's an event. And so all of these things are events. And so you basically write code that says when Mario touches an object, like let's say it touches a mushroom, then make Mario big. Right, that's the way you're going to be doing the game coding. Okay. So things you can do when an event occurs. There's lots and lots and lots. Let me just come up with some simple ideas here. Play a sound. Spawn an explosion. Particle effect. Play an animation. Change the color of something. Take damage. It's a big one, right? You run into a Koopa sideways, you take damage. Mario shrinks. Create a rocket for a rocket launcher. Create a projectile weapon thingy. Do a hit scan, trace line anything. Yep. Aggro mob, yeah, sure. Let's aggro all mobs within 30 feet or something. Yeah, there's lots of things you can do in a video game. Like there's like spawn enemies, yeah. Spawn enemy. Absolutely. So there's really no limit to the kinds of things you can do. In general, though, there's kind of a set of tools that you're going to commonly use. Mostly involving like creating objects of some sort, editing the values on objects of some sort, like their health or their color or their direction they're looking and things like that, their velocity, things like that. Yeah, so playing sounds, pausing the game, pause the game, show a main menu. Like there's a ton of things you can do, and we're not going to sort of comprehensively go through that. But what I want you to understand is this notion, right? Like an event happens, and then you attach something to that event, and then your code takes place when that event happens. Like at a high level, conceptually, are you guys with me on this? I will copy and paste this onto there. Okay, so let's go ahead and fire up Unreal Engine here. That's a little creepy, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one, I think. Yeah. So go ahead and fire up Unreal Engine and fire up Fall 2022. I was taking a look at your buildings, and your buildings are pretty good, like across the board. I'm actually quite impressed by them. So you all definitely started off with a bang this semester, and well done indeed. If you didn't get it done, like I said, I'll give you till Tuesday to do it. I'm not going to be a super hard ass this semester on like deadlines and things like that, but I'm going to be more of a hard ass than I was a year ago in the fall, where I was just like, just do it whenever, and then to certain students that just translates into it's not due ever, and then that causes problems because when they don't do any work ever, it doesn't go well. Okay, so here we are in our world, and currently we got boxes. I don't know what that box is doing there, floating midair. We got my house here, which is not nearly as good looking as your houses. It looks like I lost my materials on it because if you remember, Unreal Engine crashed, which it does. So let me go ahead and slap some. I'll do some pine wood on it. Pine's kind of a cheerful color. Let's do some pine on it, a little pine outhouse kind of thing. That's nice and cheerful. Okay. And if I wanted to, I can control click all of these guys here and hit G to group them together. No, is it not G anymore? Let's see, Control G. There. Control G will group them together, and then you can kind of move all the objects together at once. Kind of useful, I guess. So when you click on it, it selects everything now. It's a lot easier than sliding one wall at a time, and then you have to like look at it and you're like, shoot, I didn't line it up right and stuff. Probably should have grouped the light with it too, because the light's not going to be traveling with it. Let's see. Okay, so let's show you how to do some coding. All right, you guys ready for this? Let's make it so that things happen. So let's see what we got here. We got a box here, and snap it to the ground, and we will make this box some sort of like cool futuristic material here. And right now, if we walk into this box, absolutely nothing happens. There's no physics enabled on it. It doesn't move. It's just sitting there glowing, very smug with itself. Okay, so we're gonna have it do something. And first thing I think maybe we want to do is go over this here. So if you ever have an object selected, you can see that there is something called the mobility option right here. It's right below the location, rotation, and scale. So you know it's very important. These boxes up here that can move, you notice they're set to movable. Okay. This box that I just made there is set to static. Static means it doesn't move. And so when I walked up and tried kicking it, I just come to a stop, right? Whereas with this one, if I run into it, it gets kicked around, right? So any object you want to be able to move in the world, we're going to set to movable. Stationary means it can be deleted. So for example, if we want the object to be there and then like when it takes damage, it vanishes or something, that would be stationary. Static and stationary are pretty similar. In general, the choices you're going to make are between static and movable. Okay. So movable objects are fully dynamic. They can be, note it's still not moving. And the reason for that is because we have not turned on physics yet. So, so if you scroll down, so I've got this box here clicked on. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see that there is an option called Simulate Physics. And you can do things like set the mass of the box and things like that. And you'll notice that now I can come up and kind of push it a little bit. And it's acting like a fairly heavy box because this thing is about 350 pounds right now. If I were to adjust the mass right here, I could turn it down to like 10 pounds or 10 kilograms rather. And you'll notice that it like just acts like it's a hollow little cardboard box now, right? So, cool. It's a little bit too floppy for me, so I'm going to set it to 100. And yeah, it feels about right to me now. Okay. So let's make it so that when we touch this box, it explodes. What do you think? Is that cool? Like an exploding barrel, kind of. You know, let's make it a barrel. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to put in a cylinder. And this cylinder, I will scale up a little bit. And now I'm going to throw the glowy thing on it here. And I'm going to turn this thing into an exploding cylinder. Okay. Now you've all played video games that have like the red. Anytime you see a red barrel in a video game, you know it's going to blow up, right? So, unfortunately, like I said, the materials that they give you are kind of limited. Like, there's not really too many options for, you know, explosive barrels in here. Like, that doesn't really look like an explosive barrel. There's not, like, any red materials even, you know? So, you got to do what you know. You got to do what you got. And I'll probably go over... that one looks okay, I guess. That looks kind of like a barrel, I guess. I'll go over how to import assets into Unreal Engine later on. But for now, let's learn how to code things. So, I've got my barrel here set up in the world. It's the right size. Right here, you will see that there is this thing that looks like a flowchart. And that is a button you're going to be hitting a lot this semester. You're going to be hitting it a lot. And what that does is it turns an object into the world into a programmed object. It's got programs attached to it. And let's see, do I want to set it as movable or static? Let's set it to movable. That's what we had before. Okay, so I'm going to click on this flowchart thing here, and actually, before I do that, hit cancel. I'm going to go ahead and make a folder for myself. So in the content browser down here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose new folder, and I'm going to make a folder called Bill. I do this every semester, and all of my stuff that I make goes into the Bill folder. You can make a Bill folder also, or you can name it after yourself, like Samantha. Like we have 2 Samanthas in the class. Or Megan, you know, you can give it your own name. Or you can name it Bill. It's up to you. I'm not going to judge. So, again, what I did was you can right-click here and choose New Folder, or you can just kind of right-click on the open space here and choose New Folder. Either way. And what I'm going to do is just make a folder for all of the stuff that I make this semester, because it makes it easier to find. Because what you'll find is when you're doing a lot of game development, your stuff just ends up going everywhere. And it actually gets really irritating. Like, okay, where was that rocket launcher I made? Like, and it's like in your audio folder or something. And you're like, why is it there? You know, and it's just really tedious to like organize things after a while. So after you make a Bill folder, and I'm just going to call it a Bill folder, assuming you substitute your name there if you'd like. Now I'm going to click on the cylinder, click on the flowchart, and I'm going to call this blueprint exploding barrel. Okay. And the path is going to be in the build directory. If this is not your build directory, then you can browse around to it and select it. And then once you've done that, it will take you into the blueprint editor. The viewport here is a kind of a graphical illustration of what your exploding barrel looks like. And that's cool and all, and we will be using this in the future. But for now, I want you to see if you can find a tab called Event Graph. It's kind of like right in the mid-center of the screen, kind of near the middle top. And I want you all to click on it, and once you click on it, I want you to give me a thumbs up on Discords that I know that you are all here. This is where the magic takes place. This is where your programs are. This is the beginning of your program. How do you open the tab thing again? How do I click? Where do I click on the flowchart? Okay, let me jump back into step 1. So after you've made your cylinder, there's a flowchart thing right here. It's in the details tab. If you don't have the details tab open, remember you can always reset your layout that way, and that'll put everything back the way you know, I have it, and then it'll match what you have on your screen. So click on the barrel, make sure you've clicked on the barrel, and then you can click on the little flowchart and save the blueprint, which I'm calling exploding barrel. Save that into your build directory. Okay. Got it, Dustin? And then it'll take you into there, open blueprint editor, open full blueprint editor, and there. Okay. So that's where we should be. So when you open it up, it'll show you a picture of the barrel. And then you want to click on Event Graph. If it hid all those tabs, then there will be an option called Show Full Blueprint Editor, and you want to click on that, which gives you all the different options here. And so, by the way, should we be in a new project? No, I just use the same. I use the same project through the semester. Now, if you want to like not do that and make a new one every day, I guess you can, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's at a certain point you're just going to want to just have the stuff that we did. Like if we've added sprinting in, right? Like, you know, if you make a new project, then you don't have sprinting again, right? And then you're like, oh man, I miss sprinting. So, are you recording this to rewatch? You're kind of falling behind. Okay. So how far did you get? Do you know? Yes, and of course it's recorded. Everything's recorded. Make a cylinder. Turn it into a blueprint by clicking on the flowchart. Come into the thing here. It'll look like that, and then click here. And then once you're here, give me the thumbs up. Dino fan. Bluebird part, but I was trying to see what folder to direct it to. So like I said, I made it. If you right click, you can make a folder. So I just made my own folder. It actually doesn't matter that much right now. You can save it into any folder. But I clicked on the content folder here, right clicked, chose new folder, and named it Bill. And that's where I'm just going to put all my stuff this semester, because it just allows me to have one place where I can find all the stuff that I've done. Yeah. The one you made for yourself, so you can call it the Dino Fan folder. It doesn't really matter, and it really doesn't actually matter. You can save it anywhere you want. It's just you're going to be very mystified when you try finding your explosive barrel later, and it's like in like the maps directory or something. And you're like, why is it in the maps directory? Well, it's just what you had open when you made it. You know. So okay, how do you enable your character model again? What do you mean by the character model? The little mannequin here? It's just the default. You should have picked the third-person template for Unreal Engine 5. Missed the jump. You are in a camera view. Then you probably made the first-person template. So go ahead and quit out of that and make the third-person template. And the reason for that is because the first-person template doesn't actually have a body. The first-person template is literally a disembodied pair of arms and a gun. And so you can't actually like move the camera out and stuff like that. Okay, so here we are. We're in our blueprints here. And this is where your program begins. You can see over here we got some events that are grayed out. We can go ahead and delete these. We're not going to be... Actually, we can delete all of these. We're not going to be using any of those. And what we're going to do is right-click. So after you've deleted all this stuff out of the event graph, just select it, left mouse click and drag. Select it, hit the delete key. What we're going to do is we're going to say, when somebody touches us, we're going to explode. Okay? So we're going to do event hit. And that is the starting point. Okay, so when somebody touches us, we're going to do something. Now, the first thing we want to check actually is if this event is firing off at all. And so what I'm going to do right now is something you will see me do a lot of in this semester, which is rather than like trying to figure out how to play a sound or like do a particle effect, all that stuff, what I'm going to do is say that when somebody hits us, we're going to print oof to the screen. Because if we can get there, then the rest of it's going to be pretty easy. But there's a lot of fiddly bits in Unreal Engine, and sometimes you'll make an object and you touch it and nothing happens, and then you go, why did nothing happen? And that's when Unreal Engine's at its worst, because like there's something somewhere that's not checked properly, and then you touch it and just nothing happens, and you're sad and you don't know why. So where you place things in your graph is arbitrary. Yeah, you can put it over here if you want. It doesn't matter. What matters is this white line right here. Okay, and so this is really, really important. Last semester, the last week of school, a guy didn't understand how the white line worked, and I'm like, "Where? Okay, well, I must not have explained it very well." So, or he wasn't listening. He was playing on his phone most of the semester. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. So, so this white line here is the flow of control. This is whatever we attach the white line here to is what happens next. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag out from this white line here, and I'm going to choose print string. Print string means it's going to print some words to the screen. Okay, and I'm just going to, by default it says hello, which is oftentimes fine, but I'm going to change it to be like oof. Okay, and then if I want to have something happen after it prints oof to the screen, I can drag out from the white line there, and I could like have it like play a sound or something like that. Right? But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So what happens is when somebody touches us, then the white line, it goes do 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 do, and it prints oof. And then if there was something sticking out of here, then it would do that next. And if there's something sticking out of that, it would do that next. And so the white line is the order things happen. Does that make sense to everybody? Right now we're doing one thing, which is just we're going to print oof. Cool? All right. All right. All right. All right. Cool. So let's see if this works. Now, in order to make it work, you see how there is a compile thing. It's saying that I'm dirty right now. That means that you haven't compiled it. And so you have to hit compile. That actually turns this into like an executable program under the hood kind of thing. And hit compile, hit save. That you'll see me doing that sort of compulsively when I do Unreal Engine because it crashes so often. So you'll see me hit compile, save, and then I flip back to the world. I think by default for you, it's off in its own kind of tab. What I like to do is I like to all of these things are like dockable in Unreal Engine. So like you can click and drag these tabs and resize things like kind of like anywhere. And one thing I like to do is I like to take my tabs and just kind of stack them up here. So I can just kind of switch back and forth between the main map and whatever assets I have open. And then when I'm done with an asset, I just close out of it. And then if I ever want to get back into it, I can just go over here and open the blueprint editor there, or I could double click on it here. Okay. And then it opens right back up. All right, so let's see if this works. So I'm going to hit the green arrow, play. And I'm going to walk up to it, and it's saying oof. But it's saying it a lot. You see that? It's like oof, oof, right? Because every frame, I'm crashing into it, right? So if I just, glance against it, there's just one. Okay, let's see if I can get on top of it. Nope. Jump on top. Nope. Do some platforming here. Let's do some parkour. There. Okay, notice how when I'm not moving, it's not activating that event. So the event triggers when the person's actively moving. Like if I jump and land, I get an oof, right? But if I'm not moving, it's not firing that off every frame. But as long as I'm actively moving and touching it, like this, it'll keep bouncing into it and triggering the event every time. Does that make sense? Your screen's blasting oof when I beat up the cylinder. Like conceptually, does that make sense to all of you? Like we want to have something happen when somebody touches us, and so there we go. And so now that we know that it's working, because it might not, right? Like trust me on this. Like if I could probably set the collision settings down here like to I don't know, no collision or something, and then oh yeah, look, no oofs, right? I'm the man in the box. Okay. Right, so it's possible to undo. Okay. It's possible to screw it up so that just nothing happens, and it'll happen to you, and it's happened to me, and that's why I always start with this. Like I always start with just like print something in the screen, just let me know that it's happening. Let me know that we've gotten here, you know. When I play, it doesn't go to the player model. Can you do this? Do you have a... Are you on the third-person template? Does it... when you WASD around, does it move the character on the screen? Because there are different simulate options here. Like there's... Like you can hit simulate, and then like... Things are running, but there's no player. So if you have that, like maybe... So you wanna switch it to this. You made a new project on the third-person template, and you're not seeing your character model. Are you using Unreal Engine 5 starter content? I don't know. You might have to screenshot that for me, and hit play. The green arrow right here. The character doesn't appear until you hit play. All right, oof, oof, oof. All right, so now we're gonna delete the oof because we know we were getting there, and now let's have it play, you know, like an explosion sound or something like that, right? So we'll do play sound at location, and so this is one of two main ways of playing sounds. The other way you can play a sound is called play sound 2D. Play sound 2D just comes out of your speakers. It's just like anytime you like click on a main menu and you hear click, you know, or you you know, something's happening in your interface. Play sound 2D is for that. It just comes out of your speakers. Play sound at location actually places the sound in the game world, and so if you're closer to it, it's louder. If it's further away, it's quieter. It attenuates the sound in all sorts of interesting ways. You need to give this two options. The first option is which sound to play, which makes sense if you think about it. And if you click on the little drop-down menu here, you can see that there's some starter content in here. If you mouse over the icon, it'll give you the little play triangle. And if you do that, you can hear what it's going to sound like. All right, sounds good to me. And then the second thing is the location of the sound. Now, some of you compile, save. I'm just going to leave it at 000 right now, and you'll... I don't know if it's... Yeah, I don't think this is going to come through on the stream. But I'm hearing the sound not from the barrel here, but like over in that direction over there. And the reason for that is because the Velociraptor right here, that is the world origin. That is 000. Okay? And so it's a good idea to leave the Velociraptor somewhere near where you're doing your development work, because you're going to screw up. Okay? You're going to screw up at times, and you're going to forget to set the location on a sound. And so when you see explosions coming from that corner of the world, and sounds coming from that corner of the world, and laser beams flying that way, and rockets flying that way, or rockets coming out of that place, you're like, oh, I forgot to set the location on it. In real life, there's actually a place called Null Island, which is latitude and longitude 00, and yeah, it's you know, it's a thing. Null Island. There you go. It's at 000. If you go there, that's what you find. If your GPS leads you there, you know it's screwed up. There you go. All right, so Nunez, go ahead and screenshot what you got for me, so you can see what you're doing. Okay. So how do we get the location of us, the barrel? There's a couple different ways we can do this. We could have the sound of the explosion come from the place the player made contact with the barrel. And that's in fact right here. You can see right here there's something called hit location. And that is the spot where the player touches the barrel. And if you do that, then the explosion sound will come out of that point. How do we do that? You click and drag out of that pin here, and you hook it up to the other pin here. And if you do that, then the location the sound will play at is the location the player touched. That may or may not be what you want, but it's probably going to be pretty close to what you want. There we go. And as I rotate the camera around, it's again probably not going to come through on the stream, but it's I'm hearing it come from the left speaker and the right speaker, right? And so it's at that location right there. Still in your house. Okay, so let's see here. So you're playing the game, and when you walk around, like just nothing, you don't have a player. Do you have the player start? So Nunes, oops, not played. Search for like player start and double click on it. It's possible that's missing somehow. Okay. All right, so another thing we could do is rather than have it come from the player touching the barrel location, we could have the location come from the center of the barrel. Okay. Press the green start and you need to click. Yeah, so after you hit play, click in the world, and then you can move around. Okay. So how do we get the location of us? Now, that white dot there is not just used for moving the barrel around, it's also the origin of the barrel. That's location 000 from the barrel's perspective. So if you're in barrel local coordinates, that is spot 000. So if you attach anything to the barrel, it's going to be attached relative to that center point right there. And if you were to come back into the barrel blueprint, click on the viewport. Well, there's only one thing, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, you'll see the white dot there, and that's the pivot point. That's the center of the object. And if we want to get that, then what we can do is this barrel here is called a static mesh component. It's called a static mesh because the barrel never changes. It just is always a cylinder. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag that out into the world here. And this thing here represents our barrel, ourself. And we can actually drag out from that and get all sorts of information about it. In this case, we can get our world location. And if we do so, that will return our center point. So let's do that. And so this is going to play a sound at the center point of the barrel rather than the place where we touched the barrel. Now those 2 points are going to be pretty close to each other. They're probably going to be like a ½ meter off. Let's see if I can even hear the difference. Yeah, I can't really tell. Like an explosion coming from here is like, you can't really hear it. But that's how you can do that. So anything in your blueprint you can kind of drag out, and then you can get things from it. Like if you wanted to get its, I don't know, get its name or something like that. Get object name, and then print this or something. So if we do this, what's going to happen is that it's going to play the sound first, and then it's going to print the name of us second, and we're an exploding barrel. So compile and save and play. It didn't play. Maybe we don't have a name. I don't know. Get object name. Oh, it's printing to the log, not to the screen. That's why. No? Oh, it's under log string. That's why. Yeah, it's print string. There we go. Strange. I thought I typed print string. Okay. There. Now it'll work for sure. There we go. So our barrel's name is static mesh component 0. Or actually, that's the name of this thing here. Okay. How do you delete a connection? If you hold down Alt and click, it will disconnect the wires. Another thing you can do is hold down Control and click, and then that will allow you to insert something like in between them. And so you can like put a new node in between two other nodes. You can right click on a pin and choose break all pin links, and that will break a connection as well. Break link to print string. You break a specific one, again by right clicking on it, things like that. So yeah, that's the basic idea. How do you get location tab on Play Sound 2D? Well, Play Sound 2D doesn't have a location. So Play Sound 2D just comes out of your speakers with no attenuation. It's not in the game world. It's used for things like, when you click on a menu and you hear the shoop sound for the menu opening up, things like that. It's not physically embodied in the world. It's just played right out of your speakers, no stereo. It just plays the sound, which is fine. Like if you're doing a soundtrack or something like that. Like if you're playing like some background ambient music, and there's not like a speaker in the world, that you just want to have some background music going on, you'd use Play Sound 2D. But if you're like walking past a nightclub and the nightclub has got some music booming, then you'd use Play Sound at location, because that music is embodied in the world. It's there. And as you walk past, the Unreal Engine will have the speakers change the volume on the different left and right channels as you turn and look around. There's a lot of really neat stuff you can do with audio. Like you can have it attenuate as it goes through walls. So you hear the bass coming through, right? But not the treble. Like there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do. But these are the basics. Okay, Alt and click the string. Yeah, just like that, and then it cuts the connection, cuts the cord. All right. Okay. Right click and choose which connections to break. Correct. Yeah, you can right click and choose break all, or you can break a specific one. You can also right click and follow it. You can straighten a connection by hitting Q. So I like one of my things is like I don't like my blueprints looking like super messy, and so you'll see me like straighten out my connections all the time. You can do that by like selecting two of them and hitting Q, and then they'll go like that. Because it'll snap to grid, but like a lot of times, like if you look at this, like when it snaps to grid, it's like very slightly off. I don't know if you can see that, but like it's like that far apart there, and it's like that far apart there, and it's just slightly off, and it's just And so if you select them, you could go to straighten connection like that, or you can select them and hit Q. I do that a lot. So my blueprint's looking nice. So what else should we do for an exploding barrel? Just tell me. You guys have probably played video games before. What sort of explosive barrel-y stuff should an explosive barrel do? And that's one of the cool things about this class. You can just tell me what you want to see, and my game development skills are generally good enough at doing anything you ask for. I say that with a certain amount of trepidation, like just add a fully aware general AI, or don't ask me to do art because you're gonna get a triangle. But yeah, for like most game programming stuff, like all perfect body size imprint on the barrel. That's good. Clear path. Play the bruh sound effect. Okay, Jake, can you find me a bruh sound effect? If you can find one for me, I will put it into the game and play it for you. Okay. Dismemberment of barrel, damage like a hole. Oh, chaos, destruction. Oh, Lord. All right. Hmm. I might need to... I don't know if that counts. Let's see here. Attach it. Browse asset. I'm not seeing the chaos destruction on here. Actor. Yeah, there's a way of making a destructible mesh out of an existing thing. I think I have the plugin turned on. I'm just not seeing the thing show up. So I'll have to look that up and get back to you on Tuesday on it. But yeah, having things shatter is actually pretty cool. All right, there we go. Bruh, sound effect.
Bruh.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and... Oh, that's on YouTube. All right. So let's see if I get a copyright strike on this.
Bruh.
Okay, there we go. So go here, and then we're gonna go YouTube to wave converter. Unreal Engine works with WAV files, WAV files. And so punch that in, format, give me a wave. The heck? Oh. That was running in the background. Okay. 100%. Download. Thank you. And webcomics. There we go. Bruh sound effect. I'm just going to call this a bruh.wave. And save it there. And then close that out. And then we're going to go into the build directory here. And now I'm going to show you how to import an asset into Unreal Engine. Cool stuff. Okay. We're going to be doing this a lot. So you can right click and choose import, or just from your build folder you can choose to add. Actually not add, we'll choose import. And we'll go up to the desktop and there's bruh.wave. And if I play that,
Bruh.
there we go. And as always, save all. Just save all the different assets you're working on. And we could use this right now, and I'll show you something a little bit about sound, I guess. You could play it just like, just switch out the explosion. Like I could just do that right now and just go bruh and compile and save, and then
Bruh. 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 Bruh.
I could do that. One thing that's kind of cool though is if you have a sound file like this, you can right click on it and choose create cue out of it. And a sound cue is pretty cool. There's a lot of neat stuff you can do with it. Let me just do that real fast and show you what it looks like. So it's got that same sort of node editor system like we were looking at earlier with the blueprints. And you can do things like have it play a random sounds. Like if you're doing gunshots, it can randomly pick between different gunshot sounds. Modulator. Let's see. Yeah. So if you attach a modulator to it, then it will randomly go up and down in pitch a little bit and become a little bit louder and quieter. Again, very useful for doing random, like repetitive sounds like footsteps and bullets and things like that. So that every time you take a step, instead of it being the exact same footstep sound every time, sometimes it'll be 5% louder, sometimes it'll be 5% higher pitched, 5% lower pitched, 5% quieter. And so it creates a little natural variation automatically for you. You don't have to do anything like more complicated than that. And if you play it,
Bruh. Bruh. Bruh.
see that third one is a lot lower, and we can exaggerate it quite a bit if you want.
Bruh. 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 Bruh.
I've never witnessed such beauty. Brilliant engine. How do you make a cooldown? Okay, yeah. So that's a good one too. So I'll just leave it like this, and you know, nah, I'm gonna make the volume super.
Bruh. 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 Bruh.
Okay, good enough. So it's sometimes loud, sometimes quiet, and then under the exploding barrel, rather than just bruh, I'm going to choose bruh Q, and then that.
Bruh. 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 Bruh.
And then it's highly variable sound. Okay, so how do I add a cooldown to it? Okay, there's a lot of good answers to that. I could just make a variable. This might be a good time to introduce variables. I think before I do that, though, I'm just going to have it, because it's going to explode. So if we just have it delete itself, then we don't have to worry about it playing more than once. So what I'm going to do is let's just add a particle effect here. So we're going to do a spawn emitter at location. So this is a simple particle effect. And do you see how these things don't line up evenly? Oh, it's so annoying. Q, there we go. Now that one's not lined up. Q, okay, there we go. Okay, so spawn emitter is for simple particle effects. They're not great. There's a better system that we can talk about later in the semester. But we're going to just have it do a explosion. And the location of the explosion, again, will be the center point of the barrel. So just hook that up to that. And choose explosion. The rest of it you can leave alone. And then after we play the particle effect, we're just going to destroy the actor. So destroy actor does what it says on the tin. Oh, it's not lined up. It will delete it. So if we compile it and save it and go back up here and play.
Bruh.
There you go. So yeah, if I ever go too fast for you, all of these things are uploaded. So watch what happens when I touch it. It's going to play bruh, and it's going to do a particle effect, and it's going to delete itself.
Bruh. Bruh. Bruh.
Okay. So there you go. You got your bruh-erls. Game of the year. I know, right? Like I'm shooting for it this semester. So that's the general idea of programming games, though. Like I talked about, there's in the notes, right? There's certain events that happen, and then when the event happens, in this case, we're touching the barrel. Then you do things, and the things you can do: play a sound, do an explosion, delete yourself, print a string to the screen. The sky's the limit on kind of the backside here. On the front side, though, there's only there's only actually kind of a few things, like keyboard, mouse, joystick. Like all these things are kind of like just user input, right? And then there's running into something, there's overlapping something, timer going off, or every frame. Taking damage, maybe. Taking damage is technically an event. Something like that. Okay, so that is that. Now, we could have done this another way. We could have made it so that we had a variable, and the variable could like write down the last time it said bruh, right, and then just ignore events until 2 seconds later or something like that, right? We could do that. Do you want to see how to do that? It's probably doesn't make quite as much sense because the barrel's supposed to explode, but making a variable is important. Getting the current time is important, and having an if statement is important. So yeah, sure, let's do that. So I'm going to get rid of the destroy actor, and I'm going to move all this stuff off to the right a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a variable, and the variable is going to hold the last time we exploded, which sounds weird, but that's what the people have asked for. That is what the people will get. So last time exploded. So what I did was right here, you can see there are variables. If you've ever done algebra, you know what a variable is. It holds a value. And basically you just click on the little plus here, and then it's going to ask you for the name of the variable, and then it's going to ask you what type the variable is. And so time is going to be something called a float. So you need to set the variable to be last time exploded as the name, and float as the type. The name doesn't matter, you can call it whatever you want, but just make sure it's descriptive. Compile and save, as always. And you can see that it's going to default to 0, which is fine. That's going to mean the last time we exploded is off in the distant past. And so if it's been more than 2 seconds or whatever, we're going to be fine. So your C-side major, you'll be fine. Okay, cool. But not everyone is. So if it's confusing, it's confusing. Just let me know. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get the current time. So get time. Get game time since creation. There we go. So this is going to return how many seconds it's been since the game began. Okay? And it only goes up, it doesn't ever go down. And since it's a float, it can hold quite a large value. So this is the current time. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare the current time against the last time we exploded. So if you have a variable over here, you can drag it out. And whenever you let go, it's going to ask you, do you want to get the value of the variable, or do you want to set the value of the variable? So I want to get the last time we exploded, and I'm going to add 2 seconds to it, because, I don't know, exploding once every 2 seconds sounds about right to me. I don't know. So how do I add 2 seconds to this value here? Well, you drag out from the green pin, and you hit plus. And I'm going to add 2. So this is the last time we exploded. Maybe it was 0 seconds, maybe it was a minute in, doesn't matter. I'm going to add 2 seconds to it, and then I'm going to compare it against the current game time. And if the current, lining it up on the right edge too, just one of my things. It's one of my quirks. I like everything lined up on the right. Like, why do you have a grid if it doesn't snap to it? Sorry. Okay. So what I'm going to do, so let's say the last time we exploded was 60 seconds in. We add 2 to it. That's now 62 seconds. If the current game time is 61 seconds, we're not ready to explode again yet. So what I'm going to do is see if the game time since creation is greater than, and I drag out from that pin, and I hit the greater than sign. Greater than or equal, it actually doesn't matter because, you know, is it 5 seconds or 5.01? It doesn't matter. So we're going to compare these two values. And if it's true, then we will play a sound, spawn an emitter, and all that other stuff. So I'm going to drag this down here, and I'm going to type branch. Branch is very important. Okay, creating variables is very important. We're introducing a little bit earlier in the semester than I usually do. So if you don't get this part, don't worry about it. The earlier part is what you're expected to know. So a branch is an if statement in computer science. And I'm going to hook this up here. Line them up. So if it has been more than 2 seconds since I last exploded, then we will play a sound, spawn an emitter, and so on and so forth. Okay. If it has not been, then we're going to do nothing. Okay. And there's only one other thing we need to do here, which is to set the last time exploded. So bring that over here, and so if we're going to explode, then the last time we exploded is now. Okay? So let's say the last time we exploded was 10 seconds in, and we're 50 seconds in. 50 is bigger than 10 plus 2, so the last time we exploded is now 50 seconds in. It plays the sound, it spawns the emitter, And then let's say we touch it again immediately. It's 50.1 seconds now. Well, the last time we exploded was 50. 50 plus 2 is 52. 50.01 is not bigger than 52, so then it ignores it. So this is a fairly standard way of limiting how often something can happen. Another way, there's other ways of doing it as well, but that are simpler even, but don't work as well as this. So this is kind of the thing. So how do you set last time exploded? You drag the variable out onto the map or the grid or whatever you want to call it, and choose set last time exploded. If you drag it onto that pin there, it'll actually hook it up for you. So if you drag the variable onto that pin right there, it'll set the variable to the current time. But make sure you hook up the white wires here. And let me just compile it and save it. Make sure that everything works right.
Bruh. 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 Bruh.
Okay, so you can see that it's only happening once every 2 seconds now. This is maybe a little bit advanced for second day of class. So if you don't get it, you don't get it. It's fine. Don't beat yourself up. This is the important part here. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, and I will screenshot this. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit here. I'll pull it down right here. Pull this down here. There. Okay. So I'm gonna screenshot this and put it onto Discord for you. Yeah, you should, Megan. My daughter, like you saw her pop in a second ago, she's sat on my classes, and she's actually pretty good at Unreal Engine. Like she's built rather impressive worlds. Maybe I'll show them to you at some point. So that is that. Let me show you one more thing today, and then I'll give you lab time for the rest of class. Okay. And that is, it's going to be very similar to this, just slightly different. So what we're doing here is when you run into something, it does something. Now, like I said, you can make a invisible zone so that when you like walk on top of the platform here, it like, plays, bruh. I guess we can do that. So if you want to have an invisible zone that you can walk in that plays a cutscene or something like that, you can do so by coming up to box trigger. So there's something called a trigger box, and just drag that out. It is 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter by default, and you can just scale that up to cover the platform here. By the way, there's a lot of famous like speedrunner glitch bugs where like the trigger zone doesn't quite cover like a doorway, and so you can like bypass entire fights by like squeezing past like the edge of the trigger zone and things like that. It's sticking off a little bit here. It's a little bit too big. Okay, so you'll notice that the trigger box doesn't appear in the world. Like, you can't see it, and when I walk over it, it doesn't play bruh or anything like that. By default, the trigger box does absolutely nothing. So we've got this trigger box here, and so what? Yeah, cool. It's just a zone, and when you walk over it, nothing happens. Okay? So what we need to do is add code to it. So we need to make this a dynamic blueprint object kind of thing. Control-Shift-S to save everything. So how do we do that? How do we convert this trigger box here into a live coded thing? Let me move this a little bit that way. It's sticking kind of off the edge. What do I hit? I got the trigger box selected. What do I hit? Alright, see some method. Pretty famous one on Wind Waker. Yeah. Yeah, the flowchart symbol thing. Very good. So we click on that. And again, I'm going to make sure I'm saving it to the build directory. And I'm going to call this the Brub zone. The Bra zone. Alright. And I hit save. And here we are inside of the Bra zone. And you can see it's just this invisible zone. Who cares about the viewport? Who cares about that? Event graph. Okay. So inside of the event graph, I'm going to delete the begin play. I'm going to delete the event tick. But what I care about is event actor begin overlap. So that's what it's called when you overlap a zone, right? When you enter a zone, it's not hitting it because you're not bouncing off of it. You're not colliding with it. It's, like I said, it's very similar, but slightly different, right? It's going to be, in fact, almost entirely the same, right? So event actor begin overlap. And when the player walks over us, we are going to play sound. Might as well just do play sound 2D because, you know, you're just in the zone, right? And we'll play bruh, and then that's it. I don't know. Pretty straightforward, I think. I don't know. All right. So bruh zone. All right. We're gonna bro down. Notice if I keep walking around inside of here, nothing happens. But if I walk out and I walk back in again, okay. Does that make sense? So basically, you make a trigger box and you click on the little flowchart button there, and you can just add code. So when somebody walks into it, stuff happens, right? So, flow, I can't. You like it? Like, pretty straightforward, right? And, you know, what kinds of things can you do here? Well, there's a lot of options, right? Like, there's a lot of things. You know, you make it so you load a map or something, right? Like load level. Level instance by name. What is it? Street. That's right. What is it called to load a level? Blueprints. Load map. What's the node? Maps now. Maybe. Create now. It's not that. Load map. Using blueprints. You'll see me do this occasionally. There's a lot of stuff in Unreal Engine. Open level. Okay. So it's not load level, it's open level. Okay. And let's see. Open level. Object reference. Third person map. Okay. So you've reached the end of the map, and now it loads into another map. In this case, I'm loading the starting map over. A lot of stuff you can do, you know, and like I said, sometimes you just have to hit the documentation because there's a lot of stuff, you know. It's like I remember that as load level, but it's actually open level. Okay, cool. You guys with me on this? So the list of things you can do when you enter a zone, when you touch something, when you take damage, when you click the mouse button is unlimited. But there's kind of just, you know, a few different ways of starting it off. Yeah, so overlapping something, touching something. We can make it so that when you hit a key on the keyboard, stuff happens. But maybe we'll do that next time. I think we're pretty good for now. What I'd like from you all is to... oh, I forgot that I put that in there. Yeah, so you walk in, and there you go. It loads the new map. Okay. So what I'd like from you for today is I would like for you to make your house from last time interactive in some way. For example, you haven't learned how to do animations yet, but maybe you can make it so that you have a door, and when you touch the door vanishes, and you can walk inside. Okay? Or play a sound or something like that. You guys understand? So take your beautiful houses that you've made and do something interactive with them. You can there's lots of particle effects you can play with. They're not great. Fire, smoke, sparks, steam. Yeah, steam.
Bruh. Bruh.
It kind of looks cool, right? You explode a whole group of objects. Yeah. That involved explaining like for loops and things like that, which the less technical people aren't going to be ready for yet. Yeah, one way. Yeah, we need to talk about how to do damage. That's a big thing. So you can make it so that when a barrel explodes, it damages everything around it, and then if the barrel takes damage, then it explodes, and you could chain reaction that way. That's pretty easy. Another way you could do it is do a radius search, which finds everything around you. Or you can find all barrels in the world and detonate them all at once. It just depends what you want to do. Like, do you want to have one button that when you hit it, all of the explosives go off? Then that's one thing. If you want to have a grenade that just damages everybody in an area, that's one thing. It just, whatever you want, whatever your game design is, there's something for it in Unreal Engine. Okay, so I will turn you loose on today's homework assignment now. I will hang out. I know some of you are having trouble, so feel free to stream your screens, and I will pop in and watch your screen, and I will unmute you if you're having trouble, like if your person doesn't appear. Also notice this particle effect is not going away. So you have to be really, really careful about spawning this multiple times, because it will very happily keep spawning more and more fog every time you touch it. And those particle effects don't go away, and it will... If I didn't have that 2-second delay on there, there would be like millions of particle effects going off right now. And the frame rate would just drop to nothing. Okay. So you need to be very careful. Some particle effects play once, then delete themselves. Some particle effects play forever, like the sparks and things like that. It just plays forever. And so if you are spawning 500 million of them, your frame rate will go as a result. So that's maybe more suitable for like there's a wire up on the background and it's sparking or something. Okay. So your homework assignment, you'll understand. Make it interactive. Make your house interactive in some pleasant, interesting way. Okay. You can make a create a variable that waits 10 seconds and water falls down and all the OG particle effects are gone. Yeah, so we don't have a water effect in here, but what we could do is something like this. So this gives you the emitter. And so, what did you say? Wait 10 seconds? Okay. So there is something called the delay node. That's actually a really, really useful node. Line up, please. Okay, so we can say delay for 10 seconds. And then, oops. And then we will stop. No, that's not right. Let's see if that works. I don't know if that's going to work or not. I'll set the duration down to about 2 seconds, just so we don't have to wait 10 seconds.
Bruh. Bruh.
Yep, that works. So basically, yeah, if we take that up to 10 seconds, then
Bruh. Bruh.
as we touch it, more and more smoke comes out. It gets quite smoky. So then if we kind of kick back and wait for 10 seconds. Yeah, okay. That's interesting. Let's see. I think it's because it's triggering multiple times, and so it's probably losing
Bruh. Bruh. Bruh.
1, 2. Yeah.
Bruh. Bruh.
You probably want to keep it from activating while it's already activated. Okay. So, there you go. So you can delete the eternal effects. Would that be a second event, or would you trick the first event by coding the particle effect? Yeah, so there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can make a custom event, and then have a delay, and then after the delay finishes, trigger the event, and you could like save this into a variable. I guess I'll show you. Promote to variable, and you're going to be the particle. And then you can save the particle effect. You're getting like fairly advanced right now though. So that, and then we're going to create a custom event called destroy particle. And then here we can like call destroy particle. Something like that. Trouble is if it fires multiple times, the variable is going to get overridden. That holds the particle effect. But you can see it's working for here. So for the rest, yeah, just don't worry about this. This is like more advanced stuff. But yeah, you can do it. Like I said, if you ask me how to do something, I'll show you. But in general, all I'm expecting from you guys for Tuesday is have a nice house and have it so that like when you touch the door vanishes, like, and maybe plays like a sound of like or something like that, or maybe has a particle effect, or you touch the sink and like smoke comes out or something. Okay, something like that, something along those lines. Does everyone understand? Cool. Have fun with it. Creation is fun. Making things is fun. Making video games is fun. So, just have a good time. Don't kill yourself going over the top, but at the same time, don't do some like half-assed. Whatever. That door vanished. I'm done. Like, there's probably some happy medium in there where you're getting to be fun and creative and like, not overworking but not underworking as well. Okay. Today's point was just to teach you how to get started in game programming. Okay. When an event happens, then it does stuff. And so what I want you to do is make your house a little interactive. When you touch the door vanishes. When you touch the sink, smoke comes out. When you touch a plant, it goes bruh. I don't know. Okay. So I feel it was a pretty good introduction. There's some stuff in here that is more like week 3 topics, like getting and setting variables and creating a custom event and things like that. And the good news is you don't have to worry about any of that if you don't want to, or if you did and it made sense. Like Megan, do you need to record the homework? Screenshots. Just screenshot it. Or if you want to use OBS to record a video of it in action, that's fine too. But in general, if you show me a shot of the world and there's the sink and then there's the sink with smoke, you're good. All right, well, that's it for today. I look forward to seeing you all on Tuesday. Peace out.